Let's see. All right, so we're going to get started. Angie, if you'll chat with Trevor, see if he's got audio. Maybe when he has audio, if he can just come live, he'll need a USB headset for us to be able to hear him today. And if he doesn't, I'll tap dance and sing a few songs for you guys. All right, welcome. Mindset meets skill set, Bar Smart, Repay Smart software. We've got some cool stuff for you today. Been working in the lab, have a couple of marketing pieces I'm going to share with you that you're going to be able to hopefully use right away in your practice from a marketing perspective. Let's take a look here. And someone sent this to me last week after our call. Said it's not what the software does, it's what the user does. And I thought it was a beautiful thing that came from Dan Williams. So thanks, Dan. This is so true. Our goal is to continue to build out the software so that it can basically no longer be a limitation. A lot of the loan officers that we have that are working with us have said that they've moved over from other programs to our platform because we keep getting things right. We keep expanding the capabilities without making the software more complicated. But our goal is simply to not be in a situation where you can't get something done because the software itself doesn't allow that to happen. So the software is critical, but these calls are all about you and understanding for you specifically what it is that we can do to help the user improve their experience over time. Let's see. One of the things I wanted to point out, I don't know why my PowerPoint won't advance here. I'm going to have to do it manually. Is for those of you who are not familiar with our service, our release went out last week at strategicmarketupdate.com. We have over about 4,000 current subscribers. It's free. I do a monthly market update. This is something that I do for a couple of corporations that pay me to aggregate information and do updates for their advisor field force. And what you can do with this is you can go through and sign up on the strategicmarketupdate.com site, and you'll get these automatically when I publish them each month. So I encourage you to do that. It'll keep you up to date on what's happening in the market and give you that extra confidence that you know exactly what's going on, where the market is, and you'll always pick up hopefully a few ideas. I know every time I create and go through the process of aggregating that information over a month, and then putting it together over a couple of days for that presentation. I always learn a lot just going through the data and the information. All right, that said, I always do my 1 minute commercial for the new users or new folks to the program who always say, what is this about? Basically, again, at the end of the day, we're really focusing on that critical point here of what happens when you make those efforts to go out and generate a lead or a prospect. What is your first entry into that relationship and being able to work with that person? And I've unmuted you, Trevor. Hopefully I can hear you now. What are you going to do before you get into that 10:03 and the process and the closing? And how do you make the most of that? People are sharing stories about leads and deals that they would have never gotten, but they're getting them because they're able to sit down with that client and clearly communicate why that's important or why that particular strategy is the best one. And again, we're always fighting inertia. People say, I want to learn to do this. I want to go out and do realtor marketing. I want to start working with financial advisors. Anytime you want to look at doing something new, okay, anytime you want to do that, you're always fighting a battle of inertia. That's true with software. It's true with relationship. How do I overcome the existing inertia that I'm dealing with today and bring something new into my life? So let's look at the three questions. The three questions were formulated based on, all right, so hold on one second. I'm getting some messages here saying that there's an echo. An echo. Well, we've not had that happen so far. How is that possible? I tell you, we're going to get through one of these things without a technology problem. I'm convinced that it can happen. It just doesn't seem to happen. I'm not seeing your... I'm not sure what that is. Sex K top. That's kind of scary. Desktop smile. I don't know what to tell you. Everything is showing. It sounds like someone's microphone is picking up what you're saying over their speakers. Everyone's muted except for Trevor. All right, so Trevor, I'm going to cut off your mute. If I cut this off and I unmute, if I mute Trevor, okay. All right, so that was a problem. So Trevor, I had to figure something out for you, buddy. We got to have a USB mic for you to be on the call, and I'm just going to go until you tell me or Angie tells me that you've got something worked out, because if I unmute you, it sounds like we're just getting into a loop because you're not on a, if you're on a USB mic, it'll clip you out. So let us know if you can figure something out. That'd be great. Can I afford it now? Do I have the cash? Can I afford it now? Do I have the cash flow? Can I afford it later? These three critical questions, if you answer them consistently, are going to really help you get into a rhythm. And I sent out a video that would be a really good video for you guys to watch. It was with Mark Stillman, who's a new user. He asked some really great questions, 3 or 4 questions. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll do a private coaching session with you for an hour. We'll record it. We went through and talked through his questions, and it gave me a chance to take a new user who was just starting to develop cases for clients and get into a rhythm of what was comfortable for him. Because there's so many different ways you can present information, but I'm finding that the people that are really doing well right now and just really, again, nailing the majority, 80-90% of their client presentations they're yielding loan apps from, have found a particular style or a particular way they want to answer these 3 questions. So what I'm saying is you want to answer the 3 questions. Your style and the way you answer those questions is really a function of what you're most comfortable with over time. For example, in the Mark Stillman interview and video, what we found for him was the best is he wanted to benchmark. He wanted to be able to benchmark for each client their freedom point, that date where they were going to have their debt paid off, if they didn't do something or if they did do something. And we can look at that case maybe today if we have some time. But again, it would be a good video because it takes someone who's just kind of getting started all the way through some more advanced concepts and ideas, because he had 3 or 4 plans he was working on for new clients and trying to get into that sort of rhythm of exactly what would be the best way for him to present the information to his clients. At the end of the day, again, our goal is to be fast, easy, and accurate, deliver clarity and confidence. That's for you and for your client. So you've got to be clear about this and confident when you're using it. And if you do that, your clients will be confident and clear in their decision, and that will lead to quick action, always important. All the updates we've made since our last session were behind the scenes, nothing really to talk about today. You'll see some additional updates. I will tell you some pretty exciting news. We are working on a new integration that is going to allow us to integrate with about 9 LOS systems. Some of the biggest, Ellie Mae and Calyx and Mortgage Builder, PC Lender, a number of different groups. So those of you who are direct lenders, this will be something we'll be working on. It will be rolling out in the summer, but we're really, really excited about that additional integration, because it's something a lot of people have asked us about. The ability to get their existing client files into BSA, and then also being able to push that information back and forth. So I've got Trevor as our special guest. I'm going to have to see if, Angie, if you can confirm we hear you through, yeah. You have to let me know if Trevor's worked something out on his USB mic. And I was looking forward to his conversation today. And in the meantime, I'm just going to go on to our 2 case studies and then get into some of the mobile application stuff that I was going to cover with you today. And then we'll come back to Trevor if he can get us dialed in through his mic. So the first case study that I was going to bring up for you today was one that came in. It was a little we'll call it, I don't know if it's what I call super advanced, but it's an interesting case study that actually came in this morning. And then this is Trevor's that he's sharing, Karen and David Richardson. We'll come back over to that one. And then we'll do a couple on the fly. Maybe we'll have some time here to answer some other questions you guys may have. So this is the setup. And I don't know a ton about it, but I'm going to share with you what I know. And the key was he wanted to know if he was doing this the right way. All right. So the client currently has a 15-year mortgage at 4.75%. with a balance of $128,000, and they have a second mortgage with an equity line of credit HELOC at 3.25. And as you can see from the balance of $87,000 in the payment, they're making interest-only payments. All right. So overall, this looks like a pretty, we'll call it a pretty typical scenario, right? You got a client with a low interest rate, 15-year fixed, and they've got an equity line of credit. Does this make sense to refinance? And what was unique about this, as I understood it, is the client had a sum of money. I think it's about $39,500. We'll see it on the other page, that they had available, and they were looking to take that money and possibly either leave it or invest it in a savings account or use it to buy down the mortgage. And if they're going to buy down the mortgage, which one should they buy down? Should they pay down the first mortgage at 4.75? I mean, that would make sense, right? Because you'd have a higher interest rate return. Because if I pay down the 3.25%, I'm going to earn 3.25% on my $39,500. So let's make sure we understand what we're saying there. Okay, they got $39,500. So just looking at this situation right here, all right, if they paid $39,500 towards this mortgage right here of $128,000, they'd be saving or earning 4.75%. If they paid $39,500 towards the $87,000, they'd be earning 3.25%, because when you pay down that debt or that liability, you're earning that interest rate. Okay? So when I first look at this, you'd say, well, the $39,500 would definitely need to be paid down towards the first mortgage, because that would give you the higher interest rate. But what does that do for you? Then we also know that creates a liquidity problem, because if I pay $39,500 down towards the first mortgage, I don't have access, use, and control of that money if I need it. Is that important to the client? If I paid it down towards the HELOC, I can pay the $87,000 down, right, by $39,500. I'd be earning 3.25%, but I've still got liquidity. So think about that. So is it worth me earning a little bit less on that $39,500? In this case, 3.25%, but having liquidity, because if I put the money in, I can get it right back out if I need it. Or should I put that down towards the first mortgage, earn a higher return because I'm paying down a higher interest rate debt? So this is sort of the kind of setup you might have with a client in this situation. And what I want to do is show you what Andy did in terms of his presentation. Because he sent it to me and said, does this look good? Does it look right? And I said, you nailed it, man. You absolutely nailed the presentation to the client. So here's the way he set it up. All right. You got a first mortgage and a second mortgage, $128,87, so they owe $215. Look at their pre-tax combined rate. Remember what pre-tax rate, the way we approach this is you got 4.75 on the first, 3.25 on the second, and we weight those based on the balance and the interest rate. So he's got a weighted 4.143% interest rate. His after-tax payment is 2.859 on these two debts. That's pretty good. And their current payment is $2969.53. But I want to point something out over here, because you'll notice here on payments, it says that they have 76 payments to go on their first mortgage, because this was a 15-year fixed mortgage and they're already several years into it. They only have 76 months to go. But when we go to the HELOC, you'll notice this is blank. Whenever you see this as blank, it means that there is no future payoff date, meaning that the amount that they're paying today, that amount is not enough to actually retire this debt. So that's important to understand. So they're making interest-only payments when they spend $29.69 a month. And notice this number right here says $120. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means this debt's going to be done in 76 months. This debt has no payoff. But if at the end of 76 months, this mortgage is paid off, what we do for you automatically here is we say that cash flow from this mortgage of $2,733.91 and the 77th month, no longer has a home. So up here, we automatically apply it towards that other debt and say they've got 120 months to be debt-free. So look at all the information you have. You have an incredible story there to tell this client. You owe $215. Your average borrowing is 4.1. Your after-tax cost of borrowing is 2.8. You're spending $29.69 a month. You're getting $443 in tax deductions. You've got 76 months to go on your first mortgage. The second mortgage will not be paid off, paying $235.62 a month. But if you take this $26 or $29.69 a month that you're paying and you just keep paying it, once this is paid off, if you started applying that extra here, you're debt-free in 120 months. That's pretty cool. I mean, you've got an incredible story there. But what Andy did, a very simple presentation, is he recommended a new 15-year fixed at $185,000, combining, okay, these two mortgages here. So they owe $215, and he quoted them a rate of 3%. Now, why $185? Because they told him that they wanted to apply that money towards one of the mortgages. So you'll notice that he's done that. So let me kind of show you the way you set this up. It's very simple. He put in cash available $39.4 because that's how much money they said they had that they wanted to apply towards this mortgage. Now, if they don't do anything, they keep their current mortgage and they do nothing, they still have $39,400, right? It's just sitting there in their account because they'd still have these two debts, $128 and $87, and they got $39.4. If they do the 15-year fix that he's recommended, then, and he does it at $185, you'll notice what he's done here. He's taken the closing costs of $3,100, prepaids of $6,300. That's total closing costs of $9,400. So they would need another $30,000. So he's basically zeroing out that $39,400 in this new scenario. But what's he done? He's refinanced the first and the second mortgage into one new mortgage at 3%. So let's just look at this above. They owe $215 now. They're going to owe $185 if they go with what they want to do, which is use that $39.4 in the best, most efficient way possible. Their pre-tax cost of borrowing now is 4.143. That's dropping now to 3. And their after-tax 2.859 is dropping down to 2. Their payment each month is going $29.69 down to $2,043. And they have 180 payments to go. But they have 180 payments to go at $2,043 a month. So up here they're spending $29.69. Here they're only spending $2,043. So we've got do nothing. You got the $39.4 left over. 15-year fixed here. Okay, you got no cash left over because you're using it all to buy this thing down, to basically pay down your mortgage interest rate. What I might do here is since we have a little time, if we can't get Trevor on, I'll go through and say we could actually compare it another way. But now let's look at the payment impact. He wanted to show them the after-tax payment. So they're spending $29.70 pre-tax. They're getting $444 in savings. After tax, they're really spending $25.26. On this new payment, they're going to spend $20.44 a month, but it's a lower interest rate. So notice their tax savings is lower, $357. So their after-tax payment is going to be $1687, and they're going to have $839 a month. That green number there says, hey, you got positive cash flow of $839 a month. So now the real question, if you didn't have anywhere to go but here, and a lot of online, if you use Excel and stuff, I mean, you can do this stuff in Excel, right? You can calculate your closing cost difference. You can calculate your payment difference. But is this worth it for the client? Can Andy make a case to this client that it's worth taking a 15-year fixed at 4.75 and a 3.25 equity line of credit and move that and pay all those closing costs to get into a new 15-year at 3%? And we go down below. Let me kind of shrink this up, make it simple. You'll see that there's absolutely a big reason to do that. Let's just go to, say, 7 years, which is a time frame he was using for them. Now, I like to use a time frame that ties to some specific point in the future. All right, so in 7 years, so let's go out here to, let's go out to 10 years for a second. So you can slice out to 10 years and see their mortgage. They still owe $87,000. Now notice, okay, that they still owe $87,000 because they aren't paying that mortgage down. They're going to start building wealth because we've got it set to savings. So let's go to repaying for a second. All right, in 11 years, we can look at the mortgage liabilities, and that's 0. So let's go back to 10 years. Now we'll go with repaying. 10 years, the mortgage liabilities are, I'll shrink this up again for a second. So 0 and 0, okay? 9 years. All right, so here you'll notice at 9 years, the mortgage liabilities here are 0, here, negative $4,842. All right, so that would be, to me, a really logical place to set the analysis up. Because what you're really saying is you're going to be debt-free in 111 months. This is if you do nothing. You're going to spend $360,109, okay, in this scenario. You'll notice here you're spending $327.09. What's the difference? Well, because they had 39, and again, this is an advanced case study. These are really cool to show you what you can do. They had $39,400 that was left over that they weren't going to use, so they get to make that as a payment into their savings account. That's money that they get to put aside for their future. Here they're using that. There is no cash left over, but they're buying down their liabilities because their starting point, I'm going to kind of talk through this some different ways. Let's go to the 0. 0, remember, gives you cash at closing. The house value is the same. Their mortgage liabilities are $215 versus $185 at closing. Why? Because they're putting an extra $39,400 down. Does that give them an extra $30,000 of equity? No. Look at the equity difference: $385 versus $415. That's $30,000 in equity difference. Why $30,000? Because $9,400 of what they're paying at closing was closing costs and prepaids. And one thing I noticed after Andy sent me this that we could do to actually make this look even better for his client is those prepaids are going to come back to the client. So we added this feature, right? And if I do this scenario here, it's a moot point. But if I do this and I'm paying, go back up here, $6,300 in prepaids, those are going to come back to me in about 30 days. So I can actually come in here and say add new payment, click escrow refund, put in $6,300, and say that'll come in after about a month, and click save. And now it's going to credit $6,300 as part of the escrow refund in this scenario. So that's kind of cool. That's another way to sort of help improve the presentation, because you want to be fair here. This client's going to get that escrow refund back. But at the closing table, what's the net impact? You can see it right here. They're down $9,400 at the closing table. All right. So if I want to show the escrow refund at the closing table, I can put at closing and click save. All right. And it's going to go through and credit that $6,300. Actually, it'll credit it after the first month. So now when I go out to the right here, you can see it's looking at the payments, the house value, the mortgage liabilities, the savings balance. Savings balance is actually negative here. Their savings balance is going down. That's because it's costing them more over time in that current scenario. So if I go out to 10 years and we look at it this way, they're going to have spent $394 here, $362 here. Their house is worth the same. The mortgage liabilities are both paid off, but they've got a negative savings balance of $61,380. All right. And that has to do with the fact that they put money away. Actually, I got to figure out what that's from. Let's see. Oh, it's the cash to close differential. Actually, I'm getting myself confused because I'm moving things around. I'm sure I'm confusing the heck out of you. Let's look at it. We'll expand the payments here. So interest payments, tax MI is the same, principal payments are the same, savings balance is negative. Oops. All right. I think in all this jumping around, I have mixed something up. And now I've got latency problems too. Lovely. And let me know if you got Trevor on, Angie. I want to make sure that we know that he's on there as well. let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to read the message on the screen and look at this screen and change these things around as I do them. Savings payments are negative because he's paying. Oh, I'm sorry. I know what this is from now. I was like, where's this coming from? Remember the HELOC? And I apologize because I got all these cases in my head. The HELOC was an adjustable HELOC. So when he set up the HELOC, he put in the caps and stuff because this particular HELOC is at 3.25, but he put in the HELOC rate and stuff. And so that rate's going to go up. So he was simulating it, saying that over time interest rates would start to increase. As interest rates start to increase, the required payment for those ARMs and those HELOCs are going to go up, and that creates an additional payment. We're assuming the client here is paying $29.69.53 per month. But if you have an ARM and those payments start to go up, then we have to come up with additional cash. Where's that money going to come from? It would have to come from their checking or savings. So I apologize for a second. I was losing my thread on this. But anytime you have an ARM that you simulate to go up, we're always calculating on a net dollar for dollar basis to say, where is the money going to come from? If your ARM goes down, you have extra cash flow. If your ARM's going to go up, you have negative cash flow. So in this case, as that ARM starts to go up for this client over time, that additional interest has to come from somewhere. It has to come from, say, their checking or their savings account. So the software is going through and modeling all of that to look at this net differential. They're going to pay a lot of extra interest over, say, 9 or 10 years for that $87,000 ARM if they keep it, and interest rates go up as the simulation was projected to go up. But either way, you can go through and you can see how you can take these more complicated scenario. Good learning opportunity. Yeah, thanks. I was like, wait a minute. I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. I was like, where's the negative number coming from? The only way you can have a negative number on savings balance in any of your illustrations is if the payment that the client is making, which we're fixing here in this case at $29.69, actually starts to go up. And the only way that payment could go up is if a client has some kind of an ARM feature. So if they don't have an ARM, you're never going to see a negative savings balance. But we had to build that in so that if you have situations, say if you had a 3-year ARM and you had a HELOC, both of those could potentially go up. Well, if you have a fixed payment, then you're going to need to come up with some additional cash, and we need to show that you're going to have to pay more in the future. That's a really powerful way to explain to someone the benefits, because for this client, doing the modeling the way he was doing over 7 years, there's a $68,000 net savings for that client. And you'll notice here at 111 months versus 91, what you're able to show this client is if they refinance to a 15-year fixed at 3% and make the same payment of $29.69.53 each month, they would be completely debt-free, even in 91 months guaranteed. In this scenario, there's still a little uncertainty because we don't know what interest rates could go to. They could go up a whole lot, and that would push this number up even higher. But based on the caps and the assumptions that Andy put in here, they were going to be paid off at an estimated 111 months. So we know it's not going to be lower than this, most likely. It's going to probably be higher. But you can show, again, how cool it is to be able to model something like this. Not a simple case, but you can still model very complicated stuff where you have one or both mortgages are adjustable or amortizing. And if I go back to the manage screen, we can actually look over here at his details of the second mortgage, and he's got it adjusting each month, max cap of 18, life floor of 3.25, using a current index of 3.25 at prime, stable rates at current levels. So our simulation for that is going to pull stable rates at current levels, adjusting basically to the average over time. And you can do custom rate simulations. If I wanted to, I could actually say that the index that he's at right now stays the same for the next, say, 4 years, then goes up to 12% at an annual rate of about 1% a year. So you can actually use this, and this is going to adjust how that ARM or that HELOC is treated for the simulation that you do for the client. And remember, this becomes a page you can print on your report so they can see what those assumptions look like. So I'll change that assumption for a minute. And the other thing I wanted to show is on the repay screen, how visually these charts can really help out in certain situations. So if you look at this visually, okay, what's happening here is you'll see the black line is total liabilities. The blue line is the first mortgage. The kind of brownish looking orange line is the HELOC. So see how the HELOC is interest only? That client is paying no principal on it. It's going to continue to stay at the same balance of $87,000. The first mortgage is being paid off. It's only got about 6 or 7 years to go. Here's your total liabilities, because once that's paid off, that levels out. And here's your savings balance, because in this case, they were going to put the $39,400 into a savings account, and you'll notice it goes up to here, and then it slowly grows and builds and has interest that's growing. So even if they don't pay off the HELOC, they pay interest only, that savings account would continue to grow and would pay this loan off in 13 years and 4 months at the current payment that they're making today. But with Andy's recommendation below, which was to consolidate everything into one new mortgage of $185 at 3%, and take the cash flow that's available and put that into the account on a monthly basis, you'll notice here's your savings account going up, here's your mortgage balance going down, and there's enough money in that savings account to pay this mortgage off in full in 7 years and 6 months. So I like to look at these, look in 7 years, 6 months, where would they be up here? They'd be right here. And that is, they'd have a savings balance, they would have this, and you can do this way. You can come over here and say, let's look at the time frame of, say, 8 years. That would give us our 7 year, 7 month time frame. And you can see, here's my savings balance, here's my liabilities, there's my gap. And if I look at this down below, you'll notice these lines have already crossed. So here's my savings, here's my balance. I'm already debt free at that point. All right, so let me go back over to the Manage tab, and let me see if Trevor was able to get his stuff working, and if not, we'll do another case study, and we'll talk about the mobile app as well as some of the mobile things, and maybe I'll do a simple case study since I jumped into a pretty complicated one there. I've forgotten about the HELOC, and that adds an additional variable to it. Let's see, unmute him and try him out. All right, Trevor, you are unmuted. Can you hear me? Still shows he's muted. I unmuted him, but when I unmute him, it automatically mutes him right back. So I think he's muted on his side. He has to unmute himself. I'm going to get through one of these one day without a tech problem, I'm sure. All right, there we go. Trevor, can you hear me now? Shows that you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Lovely. Hey. I can't hear him. Can anyone hear him? I can't hear Trevor. I hear Trev and Todd. I hear you and Todd too. Yes. Well, how's that possible? I can't hear Trevor. I've never had that happen before. So you're telling me that Trevor's talking and everyone can hear him except for me. That makes no sense. There he is. Dude, I don't know what to say. I cannot hear you. I hear Trevor. I mean, you guys hear Trevor, but I'm the one that needs to hear him. I cannot hear Trevor. I think he's got to be, and again, he's got to be on a USB headset. I don't know why it's working for everybody but me. Trev cannot hear himself. Trevor's gone. Try someone else. All right. Who else has got a mic out there? Ryan, I see you out there, man. I'll try you. Can you hear me? Are you able to talk, Trev or Ryan? No mic. Okay. Sean, you got a mic here. I'll try you. Nope, I don't think Sean's got a mic either. This is lovely. I love it. All right. Angie, you have a mic. All right. Let me see if I can find you here in the list. Angie, can you say something? My gosh. You work so hard to make these things smooth and they just don't go smooth. All right. So I'm going to have to then assume that we have, because you're not coming in, we can hear Angie. I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm not muted. Hey, okay, try it again, Angie. Trevor, can you try it again? Because I think my audio was muted on my side. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, she's dictating as I talk. That's great. So I apologize on my end. I have no USB cable.
All right, Trevor, I can hear you, but
so
only
get one and share with you in the near future. Thanks.
All right, Trevor, here's what we're going to do. For some reason, when you talk, it mutes me out. So people seem to be able to hear you. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to mute myself so you can talk. It mutes me out too. All right, so we're going to have to get Trevor back on. I apologize, folks, for this, but it just doesn't seem like it's working. So we'll kind of keep going through the mobile stuff, and we'll go through another case study, and we'll get Trevor back on as quick as we can. Let's see. Okay, can you just confirm that I am able to be heard, Angie, since I've cut my thing on and off so many different times here? Okay, all right, great. So I can't go through Trevor's case and do it justice, so I'll let him do that when we can get him back on. Let's talk about the mobile a little bit, and then we'll see if you guys have some questions since we've got some extra time here. Then I was going to do another case, which is kind of like a 3-year ARM versus a 30-year fix for a new purchase customer. Tell you what, let me do that. Maybe we can get through a simple one here without any tech challenges. So let me tell you what this one was. This was a client that was buying a new house, purchasing. So I'm going to set this up. I'm just going to do it on the fly here. Create a new plan. It's a purchase. $150,000 contract price. All right. They were not selling a house, not paying a realtor commission. How much money did they have saved up? They had about $18,000. Okay. They wanted to put down as little as possible. I'm just going to do this as a 5% to show you the concept here. And then they wanted to borrow the difference. The question, what I want to show you in the case was, they were going to be in the house for 5 to 7 years, and they wanted a 30-year fix. And the question that came in was, wouldn't they be better off with maybe a 3 or a 5-year ARM as opposed to a 30-year fixed? And we'll talk about how would you compare that. So compare 30-year to, say, a 3 or 5 year ARM. All right. The only liability they had was rent. They were currently renting, so we'll come down here and put in rent. They have a landlord, and we'll say that they were paying, I think it was about $800 a month right now was their rent. So question, we'd like to buy a house, have found something we liked, can we afford it, and that's the main question. So the main question they had was, can they afford it, right? Can they buy this house? Can they pre-qualify? The loan officer had a different question for me, and that is, should they not consider a 3 or 5 year ARM given they expect to be in the house for 5 to 7 years tops? And I mentioned that strategic market update that I sent out each month. A recent NAR study says that the average time in a home now is 8 to 10 years, depending on your region. The fastest turnover on average was 8 years on a purchase, and the longest was 10. Now, some of you guys may remember some of the earlier NAR studies and Fannie studies. It showed it was 5.7, and then it went up to about 7.2, and now it's gone up to about 8.5 to 9 as the national average for how long someone's in a house after they purchase. They may refinance every 3.2 years, but they'll live in the house right now on average for about 9. The reason that that number has been going up is not a desire to stay in the house longer, but obviously in the last couple of years, a difficulty selling the house. And we all know people that are dying or would love to sell their house and can't get out of it right now. That, of course, extends the time that you're going to be in a home. So that's something to think about, because remember, we always ask the question in the book, Borrow Smart, Retire Rich. We said, what is the shorter of your two time frames? The time that you think you'll be in the house or the time before you'll refinance? And a lot of people don't think to ask that, because if they expect to be in the house for 9 years, if you use the national average, my question is, would it be 9 years before you refinance again? In this market we're in today, that's possible, because if they could get into a 5-year ARM at 2.5%, I doubt they're going to refinance. So I'm probably going to want to use the longer time frame. But if they said living in the house, they expect to be there about 7 years, the question is, what would be the best, most efficient product for that particular client? Now, after that little diatribe, you can see the setup here is very simple. It's a purchase, 150, right? We can put in here client, buyer, and their income was about $78,000 from memory. And that was, so what's their state and federal tax bracket? And this is a question that's come in a couple of times. What if you aren't clear on the tax bracket? I'm like, if you want to be conservative, then just use the federal. So this is a couple married filing jointly, and they're at $78,000. So their highest tax bracket is 25%. So if you want to be conservative, then just use the federal bracket for someone like that. All right. And then if they get a little phase out because they're at the edge of a bracket like a 25% and they're going to drop down into a lower bracket, at certain points, you've still got that cushion of the fact that if they're really, say in Chicago, then their federal is 25, but their state might be 8, so they're in 32. So you've given that additional cushion. So when people ask about what would I recommend, I'm like, if you want to be conservative, just use the federal tax bracket. If you're in a state where there is no state tax, then it's always going to be the federal tax bracket, right? Like Florida, somewhere like that, you're just going to use the federal bracket. In North Carolina, if we're at 7.5 or 8, then I could put in 32.5 or 33 here, but 25 would be a good conservative number. Okay, so now let's go to the borrow screen. Let's now model this 30-year fixed scenario against a couple of options. So we know they're renting today at $800 a month, and they're going to pay that off because there's no reason to keep renting once they buy a new house. So we'll say yes, they're going to pay that off. It comes in with a couple of scenarios already, a 7-year and a 30-year, and I'm going to go ahead and add one more down here. So let's call this first one. Why don't we start with the most expensive? I like to put the higher cost on the left. So 30-year fixed. And to do that, I'm just going to click 30-year fixed. And let's say that instead of doing it, I could split it, but I know a lot of people have trouble doing this. The software is saying, hey, if you can do this to avoid MI, do it. I'm not going to do that for this because I know a lot of people have a hard time splitting out a first and a second for a purchase. So let's just say it's a 95% purchase. And let's say it's 4%. Okay? So I got really 3 fields, right? The product, the LTV, the loan amount, and 4%. Now I'm going to come over here to the payment, and you're going to put in whatever your closing costs are. Let's just say 1% origination, and maybe your prepaids are going to be $1,500. No, that would be 1,500%. $1,500, whatever they're going to be, and let's just say your other closing costs here are going to be $1,200. I'm just making up some numbers here, and we're not going to include any of those in the loan amount. And their taxes are going to be around $125 a month, which is typical here. Homeowners are going to be around, let's just say, $35 a month. And then the MI. And I'm just going to say it's 0.87 is the MI. We know if it's a new purchase right now, the tax deductibility ran out at the end of this past year, so it's no longer tax deductible for the MI, but we'll stop that out at 78%. All right? So everybody should be clear on how I got that. I just put in my closing costs and I set up my additional expenses for taxes, MI, etc. So I click the save button and all those numbers have flown through below. Now they're not here yet, and when we change the software, remember that's one of the reasons we put these in here, is now I can click duplicate 30 year. It's going to bring everything down, and all I need to do is I'm going to change this to a 7 year. Oops, 7 tier. It doesn't look as good. All right, 7 year, and I'm going to click 7 year ARM. This is going to be the same. This is going to be the same. What's going to change? Interest rate. Let's say that's 2.5. All right, and that's it, because nothing's going to change here. If I go in here, my closing costs are the same, property value is the same, all my MI, all these payments are going to be the same. Maybe there's a slight adjustment for ARM or whatever, and you would just make those adjustments there. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring this down, and here I'm going to do a 3 year ARM. Okay, and I'm going to come down to the box below here, and let me. I like to always use descriptors. I know a lot of times when I go into cases, the descriptions are left blank, and I like to always see 3 year ARM or whatever the product is, because that's going to show up in your titles and on your reports and whatnot. Sorry, my internet just dropped out on me. Guess the next thing that will happen is a plane engine will fall from the sky on my head. All right, so 7 year ARM. So you got 7 year ARM and 3 year ARM. I'm going to come down here and click 3 year ARM. So what am I doing? I got a 30 and a 7 and a 3. My LTV is the same. My loan amount's the same. The only thing that's changing is my interest rates are different. I'm going to put in, say, 2.125 here for the 3 year ARM. And again, this stuff's going to all stay the same. Because I duplicated it, all my closing costs and all my stuff have come in. So the first thing I want to illustrate to the client is, all things being equal, your closing costs are going to be the same. You've got $18,000 to work with. You put that number in automatically. If you keep renting and you don't buy a house, you still got $18,000. If you go with a 30 year, you're going to spend $11,625 for any of these 3 options. So from a net closing cost standpoint, there's really no difference here. $63.75, $63.75, $63.75. That's what you're going to have left over. Now let's look at the payment difference, because for most first-time buyers, the payment difference is really important. So you're paying $800 a month now in rent. You're going to spend $943 here, $826 here, and $1599 here. So we know I've got a mistake up here. So let's see, where do I have a mistake? Gotta have a mistake in here somewhere. Did I hit a typo? Again, it's hard to talk and click at the same time. Oh, it's like I forgot to say you're going to pay off the rent. Sorry about that. Thank you, Brian Reno. You rock, man. So I've got $799 here. So one thing I can show the client is pretty compelling already is what? That the 3 year ARM puts me at a break even pre-tax compared to renting. Well, that's pretty compelling. I got an extra $143 coming out of pocket here, an extra $26. I got a positive $1 here. That's pretty cool. Now, with a renter, I want to show the tax impact, because rent at $800 is still $800 on a rent basis. But now when I throw in the rent or the tax benefits, notice the tax benefits are higher if I'm paying more interest. That's not a reason to pay more interest. But this is going to show you a relative interest adjustment here that says your tax savings is $150 versus $105 versus $94. So I can see the payment difference after tax. I'm positive $7 a month with a 30, positive $79 here, positive $95 here. All right. So go down and look at the fixed. $800 is my payment. That's what I'm spending today. All right. That's more. Now I click my little reset button here, and it's going to go through and make sure I've got the highest payment in, which is $943.32. Why the highest payment? Because if any of these is an option for you, a real option, then if you can pay $943 for this, you can pay it for any of these. And we're always using the highest payment option, because that's the way we make this easy for the client to see what they're going to spend over their time frame and see which of these is the best for them financially over a particular period of time. So if this client's going to be in this house for 3 years, they're going to be better off from renting by $12,000, $17,000, or $19,000. So notice There's a no-brainer after 3 years, I'm better off with the 3-year ARM, right? It's the lowest interest rate. Now, when I go to 5 years, the gap starts to close. 36,000 better, 33,000 better, 24,000 better. Why is that? Because this 3-year ARM has started to adjust. All right, and it started to adjust based on my guidelines. If you don't set these up in the defaults, which hopefully I have, actually I haven't. I thought I'd set the up on the defaults for this. So let me show you how to do this. So on the ARMs, if you set them up in the defaults, they're always going to be there for you. And on this particular login, I have not. So my first adjustment cap for the 7-year would be after 84 months. My first adjustment cap, let's just say, is 2%. Then would adjust every 12 months to a max adjustment of whatever it would be for your particular product. Let's say that the max adjustment that it can go up to is, maybe it's 5% over the start rate, which is maybe, I'll just say 10%. No, I'm sorry, max adjustment of 1%. Sorry, I'm reading these things in a row. Life cap is what I was looking at, 10%. Floor, 4%. Whatever your margin is, 0.75, based on, 2.75, based on an index of 0.75, and maybe you're using the LIBOR, and you can use whatever you want here. You can do a custom simulation. You can increase to worst case, increase to best case. The guidelines, Dodd-Frank, stuff like that, say that you should always use the increase to worst case for any kind of a client-facing presentation or simulation. Okay? So if you set these up in your defaults, you don't have to do this again. You can tweak them, but all of the basic information will be in here for you. You don't have to go in and do it again. I just hadn't done it on this particular program. So I'm going on the 3-year ARM, do the same thing. First adjustment after 36. Adjustment cap, we'll say, is 2%, then adjust every 12 months, a max of 1, life cap of 10, life floor of 4, life floor of 4, use a margin of 2.75, use an index of 0.75, and we'll say that's 1-year LIBOR, and increase as well. So these are going to be governors. They're going to guide your simulation below. So when I go down here below, all right, you'll notice that things changed a little bit, right? So at 3 years, now the software is simulating positive 12, positive 17, positive 19. When I go to 5 years, this is still fixed. This has become adjustable. The gap has started to close. When I go to 7 years, okay, this is actually better off. I'm positive 51 versus 43 versus 38. So the reason I wanted to show this, which is really kind of cool, is that if this client said I'm going to be here for 5 to 7 years, I could actually show them at 5 years, okay, the 3-year is still going to be a pretty good scenario, but not as good as the 7-year. The 7-year is going to be a little bit better for them because of the adjustment. I go out to 7 years, it starts to become, this is much better for them if they go out the full 7. So, but what am I comparing it to? The 30. This is a no-brainer. If I compare this to the 30, 38,536, better off. So renting versus owning, you can do it, etc. All right, you can do it because you can qualify and you're better off here. 38,536 versus 51,938. So I can actually even take this out 10 years. Sorry about the screen delay, guys. I don't know what happens. The internet kind of ebbs and flows, and sometimes it seems like it's syncing and sometimes it's not. So at 10 years, look, I'm better off from renting by $60,000, but even with the 7-year ARM, even adjusting to a worst case scenario, I'm still better off after 10 years. And this is a cool thing you can do. You can slide this out and see where's the break even. It's about 15 years. Notice, see what I mean? The 30-year, I'm better. There's no question here that I'm better off than renting. But which of these two scenarios am I better off on? See, I could get a 7-year, and even in my worst case, adjusting to the highest possible caps, it's not until the 15th year all right, that the 30-year is a better choice for me financially. And that is a pretty cool conversation to be able to have with a client. If it's better than worst case, then it would take even longer. But in a worst case, meaning it goes up to the caps and stays at the caps as quickly as it can get there, you still got to go out 15 years for the 30-year to make more sense for the client financially. They may want it for security purposes, but remember, this client, the question was, how do I explain to them that they might not want to get a 30-year mortgage? And I say, look, if your time frame is 10 years or less and you're completely comfortable with that, you're talking about an extra $14,000 guaranteed in savings based on a worst case scenario. I wouldn't go with the 3. All right, the 3 doesn't make sense, but I certainly would go with the 7 here. All right, I'm running over, so I want to go into the mobile stuff that I talked to you about, and I've created for you 3 templates. All right, so let me review mobile with you one more time. If you go into mobile, all right, you can preview what the mobile app looks like to a client or a prospect or a suspect or a partner. And this is actually pulling your picture and your logo and your information. So when you click the mobile tab, you're previewing what this is going to look like to someone out in the field. If you want to share this with someone, we've got this invite new user button, and this loads up all of your information. Notice it has for Android, for iPhone, it has this little introduction so that you can send this out to a client. Someone saying, have not seen any mobile yet. Not seeing mobile. So I haven't changed anything. I'm just sharing my screen. Man. Okay, there we go. So it's just, I don't know why. We're having some trouble. I guess we're having slow internet today. So this is the mobile. And again, I'm recording this, so we'll have a nice, beautiful, clean recording of all of our shenanigans on YouTube after this is done. This is where you preview your mobile. You've got a tab here. It says mobile. And you can click this button here to pop up your thing, right? And it gives you the instructions for someone that you can copy and paste this into email to let them be able to use your mobile app. All right. Now what I've created for you is I created 3 Word documents that are tailored for 3 different prospective groups. All right. I did one for realtor, one for advisor, and one for client. And when I post this up on YouTube this afternoon, I'm going to put the links to these so that you can download these 3 Word documents. All right. So I actually designed these in another program, pasted it over into Word, and I've got it so that you can edit it. So it says the BarSmart mobile app, the ultimate unfair advantage for realtors. So this is the realtor piece. And it says your newest prospect walks in off the street. They want to look at houses today. Where do you start? With the BarSmart app, you can run a purchase simulation with only 2 questions. 1, what's your target monthly payment? 2, what's your target down payment? And if you haven't seen that before, I'll show you that in a second. But this is the mobile app. We've actually are patenting this particular purchase simulation calculator. But what you're seeing here, make it a little bit smaller, is you're seeing a Word marketing piece that's finished for you, and you can go in and edit it. So you click inside this text box right here, put in your name, title, your company name, address, email, etc. And then come in up here and put in your logo. And the rest of this is finished for you. And this is your first page. All right. And it's targeted for the realtor. And on the back page, it's got a little bit more information, how it works, and it tells them how to install the app, whether you're using an Android or an iPhone. Okay? We are working on a fully integrated iPhone and Android app for the app stores that you guys are going to love, because when we go live with that, it's the same app that we have now, except we'll have it available for consumers. And when a consumer goes to the app store and they select the app, it will automatically assign that consumer, when they download it, to the person that's closest to them geographically. If they're a BarSmart user, it'll pull your address in the BarSmart software, and that person will have all your personal branding information if they download the app. So we've been working on that for a while, and it'll be another one of those things we roll out this summer. But I'm really excited about it because you'll just see new clients coming into your local market there that have gone out and found the app, just clicking around the website and stuff like that. So we've got a realtor one, and then I've got an advisor one, and you'll notice these are completely different. The ultimate app for advisors who want a liability management partner. Your newest prospects and your best clients want asset and liability advice, yet 75% of the lending industry is gone. It's a fact. We're your new secret weapon. Our low rate, simple approval process, and unbelievable service make us a perfect addition to your advice team now. And with the BarSmart app, you can create a quick refi or purchase simulation right from your phone, or with a single click, refer our team to contact your client. Ask us for a free sample. So this one's got a quote as well. Still looking at Realtor. All right, it's probably still syncing up. Darn it. I got to figure this out. Wow, we're having such a hard time with the latency. But it's the same sort of a thing. So it's just tailored a little bit differently for the financial advisor. And then we've also done one for your clients. All right. So BarSmart app to ultimate app to help you manage your cash flow and borrowing needs. If you haven't thought about this, you want to send this out to every one of your clients so you get on their phone so that you're the first person that they think about when they're wanting to look at interest rates or consider a refinance simulation. And remember, with the mobile app, I'm going to go through the mobile app in more detail in our next call, kind of show you some of the key features. But there are 6 action triggers in the app that once someone sets this app up, when they trigger any one of those 6 actions, it automatically emails you. If a client runs a refi simulation, if they put in an alert, an email alert, a cash flow alert, there's 6 different things that if they do that, if they click refer me, if they click to print the little amortization or email themselves, the AM, any of those features automatically email you. So you could have a steady stream of emails coming in from clients in your local market that you work with. People don't go mess around with a phone app and do a rate simulation just for the heck of it. They're probably thinking about refinancing or wondering if they could save some money by refinancing. And what this is going to allow you to do is have that steady stream of inbound clicks and opportunities coming to you and they sync to your software. So if somebody goes in and they click a rate simulation, not only will you get an email of that, but you'll automatically, that client will show up here with their name and what they did in the very top here of your plans. So the next time you log in, you'll be able to see anyone that would have been emailed to you so you can jump right into it and search for that client. So it's another reminder for you. So I'm going to load this up on YouTube. I'll have the 3 links there will be in the description of the video. If you really want them now and you don't want to wait, you just email us and we'll send them out to you directly. But they'll be up there in about an hour or so where you can download them and use them for some of your marketing directly to, again, a financial advisor, a realtor, or a consumer. If there's another one you'd like to see that we haven't thought of, let us know. We can tailor the message for that one as well. And these are Word documents, so you'll be able to edit them yourselves and tweak them a little bit if you'd like to change the message, change the quote a little bit, edit, put your own quote in, or whatever you think is appropriate. And again, one other thing, very important. There's only 2 things that you need to edit here on each. When you open these up, obviously don't leave all my information in. I'd love to have all your people calling me and stuff with leads, but change the information in the logo here. And very important, on the back here, I did this in blue. Let me make this, the only thing that's going to be different for you when you have them, when you send this out, is the first time you do this, you want to come in here and change this one box. So I've got a text box here for you. So let's say this was Sean Perkins and Sean's was SCPERKINS. Okay, so go in and you would come in here this first time. And I think this may be what Cynthia is asking right now. This is the instructions. This is the instructions and the thing. So they just go through. If they're an iPhone, it's very simple. All they have to do is go to barsmartmobile.com/S Perkins, hit the plus icon on the bottom of their mobile Safari browser, and then click Add to Home Screen, and it's going to put a BarSmart icon on their home screen, and when they click that, it's going to go to your BarSmart application, show your picture, your logo, and all of your information. All right? And if you don't know what that is, again, if you're on the software and you go to mobile, all right, to preview your mobile, and you click Invite New User, it has those instructions here, and it's going to have your whatever yours is right there, Kendall Todd. Well, that's mine. All right, so it would have S. Perkins, or it would have C. Drawn, or whoever, or whatever you've set up for your particular thing in your profile. It's going to automatically create that for you. Okay, so play around with the mobile if you haven't. If you want to preview the mobile, all you have to do is go into www.borrowsmartmobile.com/whatever your name is. So in my case, it's Kendall Todd. You're seeing it on the screen now. You can actually go in and preview your particular phone application, okay, right in the web, and see how it looks and see how it functions. You can play with the Refer Me, the rates, the calculators, etc. So she's saying, how do I get access to the templates you're demonstrating? We're going to post them with the video that I post later. So on YouTube, if you go to our YouTube channel where this video, it'll be our featured video in the description. I will have all 3 of the links to these files posted. And if you don't, or you want to get them directly, just email us at support@kendalltodd.com and say, hey, can you send me those templates? And we'll email them to you directly. All right, but go look at your app, because this is what it's going to look like, and you're going to use the same address that you see here. Put in BarSmart Mobile, and if I put in BarSmart Mobile John, I'll guess here at John Thompson's. Yep. So I just put in John Thompson. You'll notice this is what his phone app looks like. His picture, his logo, all of his information, et cetera, et cetera. So you can go in and preview your application. And I've had people that are actually using this website on their websites or their signatures for clients because they like the tools and they like the fact that all these triggers are in here, and it's going to give them a way to get some referrals potentially from the web as well. All right. So anyway, again, sorry for the technology. I said each of these are going to get better. This one was probably our worst, so I guess my downward trending graph is in my current averages here are not so lovely, but we're going to get this figured out. We've got some great speakers coming on. We'll get Trevor back on. We've got some great stuff planned for you. On the QR code, absolutely. This QR code is unique to you. So John's QR code will look different than my QR code. You probably can't tell it from looking at it. But the QR code is on your phone automatically, so it builds it from your application. And what's cool about that is when you have it on your phone, someone with another phone can scan your QR code, and then they can get your app immediately. So you can bypass all those instructions that we went through, and you can get that app directly via the web with the QR code. All right. So thanks. Hopefully you picked up a few ideas today on both the marketing and on the case study that we went through, the 2 case studies. Again, sorry for the tech difficulties, and look forward to working with all you guys in the future. Again, feel free afterwards. My email address directly is toddb@kendalltodd.com. So if you have any questions or ideas, things you want to send to me, things I didn't answer, feel free to send them to me. I hear you saying I need to slow down, and I do apologize for the software not syncing up as fast as I'd like for it to. I got to figure out, it wasn't doing that, but it seems to be doing that again. Again, the video will not have that problem. So whenever we send out our invitation for our next class, I'm always posting the prior video link there so that you'll be able to watch that prior video again. And I recommend that you do that because you'll pick up some things, because I am trying to cover a lot of information in the hour that we have together. So thanks so much. Wish you all the best. Have a great day. Take care.